Yo, what's up, Team Flynn? Welcome in today. Thank you so much for being here. This is great. Another morning show, the income stream. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to share some fun information, some fun, exciting upcoming news. But for right now, let's say hello to everybody who's in the room with us. Alex, happy birthday to April. Yesterday was April's birthday. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. What's up, Suzanne? Great to see you here. Christy, we got Mary in the house. TJ, good morning, Quaranteam. Grandma Goody, good to see you here as always. Good morning, Francis. Good morning, Rice. Bert, coffee's on. Absolutely. Coffee is definitely on. And today, I'm on with you, like I am every day, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. If you haven't yet done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you're watching the replay, thank you so much. You can hit that bell notification icon too next to that subscribe button so that you can get notified every time we go live. And it's very simple, 8 a.m. every day, including weekends, and that's Pacific time. Good morning, William. Good morning, Kalpana and Xenia and Vlada. Good morning, Dan. Good to see you, my friend. Excited to be working with you on some fun stuff coming up. Scratch and Dent Life, the Scooby Life, Chris, Well-Behaved Wallet. Ben is in the house too from Brilliant Side. Fantastic. So one fun announcement that I want to share with you is that the income stream is getting its own theme song. I'm going to be working with the company over at Music Radio Creative, which if you're in my Power Up podcasting course, you know that I recommend them for all things jingles, all things royalty-free music, and they actually can customize songs for you too on the higher level, which is really neat. And I've worked with them before on songs like the intro song for All of Your Beeswax, the podcast that I have with my son. So I reached back out to them yesterday, and they're thrilled and excited to create a theme song for the income stream because now that I've been doing this for a while and knowing that it's going to be on for a while now, I think it's really important to just to talk about branding and what branding is. So let's talk about branding really quick. I want to make sure we all have an understanding of this before we get into questions here on the morning stream. Branding is not just what your logo looks like. Oftentimes when you think of branding, that's what you think of. Branding is not just what your website looks like or even the words that you use, although those things are all components of it. In my eyes, branding is how people feel about what it is that you do, how people discuss and talk and share what it is that you do. And I think there's many different ways that you can make those things happen. And if you run a live stream or a podcast, for example, one way to brand, in addition to just the name of the show and sort of what it looks like, is also what it sounds like. So the same song or the same sort of lyrics that show up every single time. It's just like a Netflix show, right? Or a show on television. You hear the same intro music, you hear the same songs, you see the same words, and it's sort of dispersed throughout wherever it's sort of mentioned. Branding is also the feeling that people get and how people describe and talk about what it is that you do. So hopefully these lyrics that I'm going to put in this song that I have now for the income stream are going to align with that. In addition, branding is sort of just who you are, and this is where personal branding comes into play, right? Because personal branding is what people get to know about you that's often different and unique, that's helping you stand out in that crowd, which is always good to do, obviously, because we live in a very noisy world and everybody's online today. So branding, very important. It's not just what your website looks like. It's not just what the words that you use on the page, although obviously those things are helpful. It's all the elements around it, right? It's the theme of what it is that you do. Branding might be the target audience that you specify in. It might be just the kinds of products that you might have. It's all the things. And every single decision that you make in your business should support that theme, much like how, I don't know if you've seen these documentaries about Disney and Imagineering and how they do what they do at Disney, but every decision that they make is based off of, well, does it fit the theme of this particular segment of the park? All decisions are around that, even little things like the size and shape and look and feel of the door and even the doorknob in those different lands to offer just an experience that's different and themed versus something like an amusement park. So branding, really important, and just consider that as you move forward. Love the streams from Aurelie. What's up, Aurelie? Thanks for being here today. 11 p.m. in Hong Kong. This is amazing. We got a worldwide audience. Nah, but you're joking. He is really high key. He and Gary Vee have a different kind of special thing in them. I don't know who you're talking about, but we keep it clean here. That's the biggest difference, I think, to Gary Vee. We keep it clean on this show because we got a lot of kids who watch it too, which is really neat. And I love that. Love the McDonald's theme song. Which one is that one? I'm loving it. Right? I think. I'm loving it. Ern says, man, it's going to be great to see the show evolve into a whole TV show and stuff. You know, it's interesting. I've been noticing a lot of these late night people going live at night now for their streams because they're at home. We're all sort of required to be home, yet they're still broadcasting. Number one, I've seen a few people use a GorillaPod, and you know how I am, having invented this thing with my buddy Caleb. I'm more of a SwitchPod fan. So one thing that we discussed doing was maybe we should send a SwitchPod to these celebrities who are now streaming from home, because it would just be a little easier for them to do what they need to do. And maybe we'd get a little bit of love too. That would be kind of cool. But more than that, I think that this is an opportunity to kind of even the playing field across the board, right? You have the opportunity to step up and create your own live show. And you can check out the videos that I've done in the past about how to run your own live show, especially on tools like what I'm using right now, Ecamm. And it's just, we all have the same opportunity. The playing field has been leveled, and now we could all step up and actually produce something more interesting, more entertaining, more exciting than what a lot of these other people do who used to go into studios with live audiences and multiple camera crew and all that sort of stuff, right? We're all on the same level now, which is really cool. Francis says, I love that it's clean. Really works with my delicate sensibilities. Thanks for that. I'm glad that you know who you are, and I'm glad that I could help you support that. You deserve a break today, so get up and get away at McDonald's. Written by Barry Manilow. Oh, yeah. Good morning from snowy Colorado, says Rod. What's up, Rod? Welcome in. Thank you so much. The Organized Soprano. I love my SwitchPod. I love you, too. Thank you so much for that. Let's see. Okay, cool. So let's answer some questions, y'all. I would love to see what I can do to help support you today as we are here. Now, I do have to tell you a couple things. Yesterday, we had a goal of getting 200 likes, or 220 likes. And the purpose of this goal is, oh, by the way, I just noticed that my string lights aren't on behind me. One sec. There we go. That looks more brandable, because this is what you usually see, sort of a teal and yellow situation behind me. Anyway, yesterday we had a goal of 220 likes, and what was really interesting was we didn't make it, and that's okay. But I have to, I have to stick to my word. And so we weren't able to reveal some things on the shelf behind me. Today, it might be even tougher. So we're at 52 already, 52 likes. Hit that like button. That'd be really amazing. If we get to 220, I'll share some things on the shelf behind me, 3 things, and tell you some quick stories about them. But we didn't make it yesterday, and that was a little bit of a bummer. But maybe we could do it today. But I do have to end at exactly 9 a.m. Pacific, because I shifted office hours from yesterday to today right after this live stream. And that's because yesterday was April's birthday. Thank you all for the fun birthday messages. She absolutely loved that. Cool. I'm just making sure we didn't miss any super chats. By the way, yesterday was a record day for super chats. Those are paid comments that allow your comment to be seen, highlighted, and I'll give you a shout out for sure if you do that. Just know that all dollars contributed via super chat will be donated to the San Diego Food Bank by the end of the month. Last month, we donated 1,000 meals, and we're already, the velocity this month is just ridiculous. So thank you so much. Let's see. Is it a good sign that YouTube is recommending my videos to me, or just a sign that I view my own videos? Maybe a start. So Corey's question is most likely about seeing his own videos. Now, Corey, I'm not sure if you're seeing them on your homepage, or are you seeing them sort of in the recommended list on the right-hand side when you go into one of your videos? If you do see them on the right-hand side of one of your own videos when you're in there, that's a great sign. That means YouTube is understanding that that content is related to this content that you're watching, and you're seeing likely what a lot of other people will see too. Now, here's the thing. There's going to be moments on the right-hand side here on YouTube where you'll see recommended things that are based on your history. There's also things that are recommended based on other people's viewing patterns and also what they think the next best video is to show to a person who's on that page. So if you're seeing your own stuff, that's great. That's what we want, because we want people to be able to see more of you there. And I think that's a fantastic sign for sure. Suzanne says, what do you do to keep your mental skills honed, Pat? I love all brainy stuff. You said you do meditation, for instance. So let's talk a little bit about the things I do to keep myself sort of mentally on top of things. So meditation is definitely one of them. I have a little chair over here where every day for at least 7 minutes, I have an app called Muse where I meditate every single day. And I use this app because I like the immediate feedback that it gives me. It almost like gamifies the meditation process as well. There's other apps out there that are great. Headspace is another one that I'd recommend, and far more inexpensive than Muse, which actually uses a device to put on your head to have you share your sort of sensories while you're meditating so that you get this immediate feedback, which is what I love about it. But Headspace is great too. Whatever the case may be, guided meditation is really great because I can just kind of be in that moment of just kind of clarity and breath and sort of just removing all the noise in my brain, taking some breathing room from the day for a little bit, which is really important. The other few things that are really important is, number one, prioritization. So this means spending a little bit of time understanding in your calendar what are the top priorities. Because if you don't have priority, you're going to be in that spot mentally where you're not quite sure what to do. And that's a very draining place to be. I wasn't sure if it was Tim Ferriss or somebody else who said that, but it's like if you get sleep, which also is important, your health, your nutrition, your fitness, your sleep is important. When you sleep, you refill your creative tank. If you imagine you're wearing like a scuba tank of creative juice and you wake up with a new tank every single day, and depending on how well you sleep, you have more juice in the tank. Well, during the day, when you are in transition modes and trying to think about what to do, or you sit down and try to be creative, this creative juice gets depleted, right? Because you're using it. And there's only so much that you have available every single day, which is why a lot of us who try to do work for ourselves after our regular jobs, or after we spend time with the kids, or after we go to school or whatever, it's really tough to do it on the other end of that because we're already drained. We've already used a lot of that juice for somebody else. But this is why I often recommend if you could wake up a little bit earlier, a la Miracle Morning style, and dedicate some time to your own personal development, even to your own business, well, then now you're using this full tank for yourself. It's guaranteed to be there. And then you can use the rest for somebody else later on after that. And that's sort of the mechanism. So definitely prioritization is important because then you go into each day already knowing what to do, what should be on your mind, and you can use that creative juice specific about that thing versus using those creative juices to sort of just figure out what to do next. And I all know that we've all experienced the sort of content hamster wheel, for example, of just waking up or hitting publish and then worrying about, well, what do we do next? What's the next week's content going to be about? And that's a very tough place to be. It's very draining mentally. And then finally, the other thing is having other people in my life. My wife here at home, my mastermind group, friends, colleagues who I connect with on a regular basis. These are really important because they enable me to see things that I don't see myself. As I always say, you can't read the label when you're inside the bottle. You need somebody else on the outside of the bottle to read the label. And oftentimes they can help guide me in terms of where I should be focusing, or if I get out of sort of funk for a little bit and I'm just in a weird space, I can go to them, or they see it and they come to me and they help bring me back to where I should be. So hopefully those things are helpful for you. By the way, if you're new here, thank you so much for coming in. You can check out this website here, smartpassiveincome.com/toolkit. This is a page that allows us to learn about things that we could do in this crazy moment in time. Let me share it with you really quick here. This is the Online Business Toolkit. We've since added some new stuff, by the way. So if you've seen this before, let me point out what's new. But you can get some emergency podcast episodes here about what to do if you get laid off or how to maintain your business during this time. Work from home tips and whatnot, free courses. We've given away over $1 million worth of courses already, and some books available as PDF. Now down here under advice and assistance from our friends, down here where it says CARES Act explanation, Stansberry Weaver, which is my legal team, they put together a really great explanatory guide for the U.S. government's CARES Act, which is a stimulus package, and how we can potentially take advantage of that and what all that means. So you can click on the explanatory guide here, and now it's a word I know that I can't say, so I'm going to stop. But this thing is really, really helpful, and I think it would guide a lot of you, which would be great. So thank you, Stansberry Weaver, for that, and thank you, everybody. And also thank you to our first super chat of the day. We got Ben from Brilliant Side. Ben, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you, my friend. Just wanted to thank you for doing these live streams. And the website critique the other day, you've helped me out of a funk with my side hustle. No problem, Ben. We all get in a funk every once in a while. The other thing that helps me get out of this, related to what I was talking about earlier, are just keeping track of all the people that we've helped in the past and those who we've served. I have this area in my office with a bunch of thank you notes in it. And truly, Ben, when I get into a funk, I look at that thing and I'm like, am I going to let my funk get in the way of helping other people? No, I got to get through this. And, oftentimes these funky moments in our business are where we're learning about things that are new, that we've never done before. We're stepping into uncharted territory, things that are uncomfortable. And I think it's just great to realize that, well, here come those feelings again. It's not something you can necessarily avoid, but you can be aware of them and then plow through them with that awareness. And I think that's really key. Thank you again for the super chat. Martin, welcome. Thanks for being in. I appreciate you. Meditation, prioritization, including proper sleep, meaningful relationships. There you go. Thank you, Warrior Roundtable, for summing that up. Mary asks, how to pick the right mastermind group to join. Never been in one. Well, there's different kinds of mastermind groups. And for those of you who, again, don't know, or maybe you came in late or you're watching the replay, mastermind groups are sort of formalized groups of people, typically much smaller, that allow for sort of a round table type situation, right? Like Knights of the Round Table. It's round because nobody's at the head of the table. We're all sort of in this together. That's sort of the feel of these mastermind groups. And they're typically made up between two. So yes, you can have a mastermind group with just one other person, 2 to 6, or maybe even 7 max. Because when you get to more than that, well, then you don't each have the opportunity to, on a regular basis, get in what's called the hot seat. And this is very typical in mastermind groups, is to have a hot seat. So here's a typical structure of what a mastermind session might be like, with friends, colleagues, other people in the same space as you. And you can even have other people that aren't in the same space as you. I'll tell you a quick story about that in just a sec. But typically it works like this. If it's an hour-long call, and in most cases, all my mastermind groups, I have 2 that I've been with for 8 to 9 years, they all meet virtually, whether it's freeconferencecall.com and literally just on the phone, or online on GoToWebinar, or in a Zoom meeting. It doesn't really matter how you meet, but here's the structure of the call. The first 10 minutes, we each go around and share a win that we've previously had over the past week. And that's really great because it starts us off on a high note. It gets us all excited to encourage each other. And it also makes it so that, well, we want to make sure we bring something to the table every single time. So we start with a round of wins. Then we go about 40 minutes. A single person is in the hot seat. And in the hot seat, you might be in there and you could ask questions to the group. You could potentially have something coming up that you're really worried about, or have a lot of anxiety, or that you just want to present to get some eyes and ears on. And you do that for 40 minutes. And the whole group, their responsibility is to be there for support, to ask questions, to poke around, and to be, most of all, brutally honest with that person, knowing that, well, when it's their turn to get in the hot seat, other people are going to be brutally honest with them too. Because, like I said, you can't read the label when you're inside the bottle yourself, and that's what's so great about having these mastermind groups. Now, where might you find people to be in these mastermind groups? The best place to find people who could potentially be in a great mastermind group with you is, number one, in other groups that already exist that you are participating in. Essentially, it could be sort of like a niche in a niche, a group within a larger group that you could pull aside, you can vibe with those people, and then you get consistently going with them every single week on some of those platforms that I talked about. A great place that I usually find people that are in mastermind groups are in-person meetings or conferences, which of course is a little bit tough right now during the crisis that's happening, but there's a lot of meetings and gatherings that are happening online right now, which is really great. And then finally, you could even create your own mastermind group. Actually, one of the mastermind groups that I'm in, I was asked to be in, and then the other one I founded with a good friend of mine, Cliff Ravenscraft, and we've since grown that to 5 people, including Ray Edwards and Mark Mason and Michael Stelzner, Leslie Samuel, Cliff, and then myself. So 6 people in total, and it's just been fantastic. We each have had a role in all of our businesses, and I would highly recommend getting involved in a mastermind group. Great question, Mary. Thank you so much. Tennis Files says, what tips do you have for creating effective Facebook ads? Also, do you favor images or videos? Thanks. Well, I'm not a complete expert on Facebook ads. I've run Facebook ads before. I've typically hired experts to do that for me. And there's a couple people that I want to give a shout out to who are great in the field of Facebook ads that you could reach out to and also learn from. They have a lot of great free information to share with you. Number one, Monica Louie from flourishwithmonica.com, and also Rick Mulready from rickmulready.com, and host of the Art of Online Business podcast. Both amazing people who I've worked with before, who do amazing things in Facebook ads. From my experience working with them, if we're selling a product, videos work really well. Specifically, a quick 60-second video ad going over the benefits and really capturing people's attention to just drive traffic to a sales page is really great. But in addition to that, a retargeting campaign, that means people who have visited those pages or any parts of my website or who might be, in my brand in some way, shape, or form, retargeting them with a secondary ad that is essentially a carousel of testimonials. So video testimonials have worked out really well in more of a carousel type ad. Most of all, the most important thing with Facebook is in ads is just to, number one, you need to know that you need to capture people's attention. So an image and or a video that ends up in a person's feed, they're not there to see those ads, but you can be there to stop them in their tracks. So what's going to be what I like to call the thumb stopper in their situation? Number two, the messaging has to be so clear that it is something that they can get excited about. And this is where it comes in to just absolutely know the language and the words that your target audience will resonate with. If you don't know that, you're going to struggle on Facebook or any sort of advertising for sure. And then finally, making sure that wherever they end up after they click on that ad continues that conversation. We don't want a clickbait situation where people are clicking because they see this really beautiful ad and they expect one thing and then they get into this other thing. And as soon as they land on that page, they leave. That can reduce your sort of score and have you end up paying more per lead. So we don't want that to happen. But yeah, Facebook ads are a great mechanism to get more traffic. The biggest thing with Facebook ads also is just to realize that you need to make sure that you have your numbers in place, meaning you know that you can spend $1 and get $2 back, so that those mechanisms are there and you know that you can feed more money into it without worrying. And it's going to take some testing and tweaking, and you don't have to spend very much up front in order to get some good access and good value. However, if you're just sending ads to have people visit your website, well, how do you know if those ads are converting? How do you know what the benefit is? This is where tracking and conversion is really, really key. All right. Yo. Hey, Archer. What's up? Good to see you. Check him out and subscribe to him, too, because he's doing some live streams, too. And he just got access to Ecamm Live and some really cool devices in training. But just wanted to say good morning, everyone. Thank you. I appreciate you. TJ says, you are the definition of anti-funk. I don't know if my wife would agree with that, but sometimes I smell a little funky. For sure. Bert says, circles are a traditional way of gathering that allow people to see each other and no one stands out, making it more of an equal gathering. That's right. That's why the dinner tables sometimes are around and everybody sort of has equal sort of space and position versus, having somebody at the head of the table with the big giant golden throne and a scepter and somebody's feeding them grapes. I don't know what fantasies I'm living, but anyway. Albert says, good morning. Keep up the good work. We are still sharing your program with other friends of ours, the Seed Group podcast. Thank you, Albert. I appreciate you for all the support. By the way, big shout out to all of you for being here today and Team Flynn for the win. You're great. We got 178 people watching live right now. Thank you so much. Again, 11 a.m. Pacific. No, excuse me. 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern every single day, including weekends. And so I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully you can be in here, which would be great. We also have a goal today of getting to 220 likes, and we're about halfway there now, which is fantastic. I'm just reminding you because we didn't hit that goal yesterday, and you didn't get your prize. So if you're in here late, hit that like button. I think that'll help a lot of people finally make up for yesterday. Awesome. Mike's Home ESL. Pat, I'm about to do online courses as I am an ESL, English as Second Language teacher. Teaching teacher. Already sharing my tips on my YouTube channel. I got 170K subs. Congratulations, that's huge. And I want to start online courses as many subs ask. Fantastic. So some tips for you related to that. So number one, gather an email list of people who are interested in learning more from you right now. This is a very common mistake a lot of YouTubers are making is they are not collecting email addresses from their subscribers. Yes, you have these subscribers, but can you always reach them when you want to? The answer is no. And this is why building an email list is so important. One of several different reasons. But now with an email list, perhaps they're getting in because you're offering a lead magnet, or maybe it's a little preview of this upcoming course. That way you're also seeding that a course is coming. You're giving people access to, for example, lesson 1. They can get a vibe for how it is that you teach. Really amazing things can happen. Now, this lead magnet could also be a little bit structured in a way where it's more than just a PDF file. It could actually be access to a course. Again, just the first module for free, or it could have people, it could be something that you could pre-sell as well. So you could pre-sell people into the course, selling it before it's even made, or even just the beginning parts are made, and then keeping people on track there into the future and delivering as promised up to a point where then the course is finished. And now you have real life students in there. And that's the beauty of beta testing a course. Number one, you get to validate whether or not people actually want this thing. Because one thing I do want to share with you is sometimes your audience will tell you they want something, and then you give it to them, and then they don't buy it. And there could be a number of different reasons. Number one, maybe the price point's off, in which case they just don't understand the value that comes in exchange for what it is that they're paying for. So it's a messaging problem, really. Number two, we have to understand that, well, when we get a few students in there who are beta students, well, in exchange for being a beta student and either getting in early or even getting a discount, they're going to give you feedback on, well, what works, what doesn't, what parts need to be filled in. And this is why we do a beta launch before we go public, because we can test the content to make sure that it's actually something worth the value that we're asking for. And also it just actually does help people. And the beauty of this is if you do get people to go through, and you often hear me say, just get one person, one result. If you can get a group of people to go in and get a result, it just unlocks something in your brain to get so fired up about promoting that thing. And you will have probably seeded that this thing was sort of in existence. So people who didn't get in are probably wondering, well, how did it go? How did those people fare? And you can even share results. And if you could share results from your students to the people who thought that, well, maybe it's not the time, I want to see how this goes first, well, then you got them. And then you can bring them into the course on a more bigger public launch. So the beta launch almost becomes sort of an exclusive sort of launch in a way that also allows you to test and validate this thing before you go live in public with it. And it's a great way to launch courses. All of my courses are launched in the exact same way, versus what a lot of people do is they hear that a course might be a great idea, or they just jump right into it. You create the whole thing, which can take, a very long time. You launch it and there's crickets and it's like, okay, what do I do from here? Versus you're validating and sort of taking baby steps, getting green lights along the way before you move on to the next step. Good luck, Mike. You got this. Okay, next question. Chris says, can you share some tips for the About Me page? Now, I do have a video on YouTube that I'll link to a little bit later. You could actually find it by typing in About Me Pat Flynn, not about me, but about your About page. But there's some very important things about the About page you need to know. The About page is not just, hey, look at me, this is what I do. An About page sells essentially the idea of what it is that you do to have people stick around and keep coming back. So number one, you can and should definitely and absolutely should include opt-in forms on your About page. They likely clicked on the About page from the homepage, so that means they're interested. Now this is where we quote unquote close them. And you can close them for different reasons, not by starting to talk about what it is that you do. That's the second part of the About Me page. The About Me page should actually be about them. Here's what you can learn from me here on this website. This is a very important thing. Make the language and the first paragraph about them, because you want the person, the visitor, the subscriber, or whoever ends up on your About Me page to go, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I was looking for. Right? And then you can go into a little bit about yourself. You should absolutely add credentials and your sort of experience in that space to help people who now are interested go, oh, well, then you must be the right person, and not move on to somebody else. And then finally, the calls to actions to subscribe to your email list. Perhaps there's a lead magnet or something that drives them. But even if it's just a newsletter, you can still sell people into that newsletter. What are they going to get when they get in? And also, why should they continue to come back and be excited about being here? What are the high-level things that they can look forward to, that they can learn from you versus somebody else? So this is the importance of an About Me page, and it can really just solidify and seal the deal for people who come to your page, who get somewhat interested. The About Me page can be that cherry on top that can get people to continue to come back, and you can gain more subscribers there as well. Yes, you might have some opt-in forms on your sidebar or at the bottom of your blog post, but on your About Me page, do it. Ivan, hey Pat, question. How do you advertise my mentors to other people? I'm thinking about a YouTube video. I'd mentioned them as options to do during this pandemic. So I would say that number one, I would organize a list of who it is that you want to promote and talk about and share and reasons why you want to share them. It can be very exciting to create a sort of what I like to call a roundup post or a roundup video like this, where you're sharing different mentors and what you like about them. But I think spending a little bit of time, Ivan, right up front, listing them out and also considering the order that you're going to be mentioning them, and then also how or what you're going to talk about related to each of those people. And I think that when you do that, you can begin to start to visualize what this video is going to be like and that person's experience through it. You can also, this is the cool thing, when you plan your videos ahead like this, even little roundup posts like this, you can consider what the hook might be. Because let's say now you have the lay of the land of what it is that you want to talk about, and you know that the seventh mentor that you want to discuss has this really interesting, unique thing about them. I don't know what it might be. Maybe they went through a terrible accident and they bounced back from it, and maybe it's Hal Elrod, right, who once actually was pronounced dead for 8 minutes and came back to life, and now is the author of this really amazing book, The Miracle Morning, and then more recently, The Miracle Equation, right? Maybe he's a mentor I'd want to share. He would absolutely be a mentor I would share. And I might say in the beginning of the video, and hey, make sure you stick around because there's one of these mentors who went through a traumatic life experience. In fact, he died for 8 minutes and came back to life. He was pronounced dead, but came back to life. And he's now sharing some really amazing things with the world, and I want to share him with you too. So make sure you stick around. So did you see how I created a hook there to have a person want to stick around? Because that's the whole goal of our YouTube videos, is to get people to continue watching and to keep going through. And even after they watch a video, to click through into the next one and then into the next one. This is going to have all your videos rise up in the rankings and in the algorithms, and that's just going to be key for you. So plan these things ahead of time and talk about sort of, what you like and what can help the viewer on the other end from each of those different people. What's up, Michelle? Good to see you here. Thanks so much. We're at 129 likes today. Again, we have a goal of 220, so I think we're tracking a little bit better than yesterday so far. Wonderful job, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We got nearly 200 people in the room now, which is fantastic. It's my absolute pleasure being here every day. I'm so honored that you show up for me and spend time with me here every single morning. And it's just my favorite, absolute favorite thing to do, to bring new people in. And I would encourage you to share this stream with other people too. patflynn.com/theincomestream. patflynn.com/theincomestream. Every morning, it's an easy link to remember. And that will take you to the next waiting room. Or if I happen to be live, it'll be the one that's live. So patflynn.com/theincomestream. Thank you so much. All right. Paximus says, hi, Pat. I'm doing my first podcast this coming week and wanted to know what your thoughts are for the promotion of a podcast and growing relationships with other listeners and podcasters. Grateful for you. So first of all, congratulations on the upcoming podcast. I think that's a great thing to do in this moment in time. A lot of people are listening to podcasts these days, so I think it's a very smart thing to do, absolutely. In terms of growth of your podcast, number one, I'm hoping that when you launch with more than one episode. You don't want to be that guy who promotes his gig where he's going to play guitar and he promotes it, he gets everybody in the room and he just plays one song and then leaves. You don't want to be that guy. So what you want to do is you want to have a set. And it's really important to do that because the more numbers you get early on, the higher and the quicker that you will rank, and the more people that you can have see and hear your call to actions, the more just branded your show will be across those 3 episodes. So I would launch with 3 episodes to begin with. And yes, 3 on one day. And just make a big deal out of it. Treat it like an event. That's going to really help you right at the start, right? In addition, the growth of your podcast can definitely be accelerated by having you be a guest on other people's shows. Seth Godin recently said that podcasting is the new blogging. And if podcasting is the new blogging, then Pat Flynn says, well, guest podcasting is the new guest blogging. And guest blogging has always been a tried and true method for growing your brand. But it's even easier on a podcast because, number one, you just talk it out. You don't have to have the guest sort of write something and then you have to edit it. And that oftentimes, like if a person asks me to do a guest post, I'm not going to do it because it just takes so much time to write. However, if you want me to be on your show, I'm more likely to do that. Now, I do get dozens of requests every single day, so just please know that. Now, the other great thing about this is when you have a conversation with somebody for, 20, 30, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, depending on the length of your show, well, you can't help but build a relationship with that person. And if you happen to maybe have them as a guest on your show first, you're building that relationship, and then you could potentially get to become a guest on their show. Starting with other people who already have podcasts is great because they already have a podcast. And imagine, let me give you this juxtaposition, these two kinds of situations. Imagine the excitement that a person has to subscribe your show if they go through this situation. They see an ad on Facebook for your show. Whoa, that's not what they were there for to begin with. Then they have to click on that button to go to a landing page. And then they have to still be convinced by the copy on that page to go and then click to open up an app, to then go to your page, to then hit play and then listen for a few minutes. Again, they weren't there to begin with, and be convinced to subscribe to your show. That experience has a lot of friction, and that's why ads directly to your podcast don't often work very well unless you have like a celebrity on your show, and that's why people want to stick around and listen. Versus, imagine you're on a podcast as a guest. People who are listening not only are already open with a podcast app, they can find your show and just subscribe easily from there, but you're also getting endorsed by somebody who they trust already. So it's just so much easier to be a guest on another person's show and get new listeners. And that's where I would like, if I could just choose one method, I would focus on that. The biggest thing you have to worry about, though, when it comes to that strategy of guest podcasting is you really have to understand and come from a place of, well, what can I offer to this person as a podcast host and an audience? You never want to approach somebody and ask to be on their show by just asking to be on their show. It's never going to work out. And you're going to have people going like, bruh. That's not, no, why? Like, that's such a self-serving way of trying to be on another person's show and to help yourself. Let's not do it that way. Let's see what superpowers we have that we can then provide to fill out that person's archive, to help them save time, to help them talk about a topic that maybe they don't discuss in depth like you might be able to. So when you can come from a place of service, and you could potentially get recommended to be on a person's show by a friend or a colleague or somebody who's been on that show before, well, it's going to work out so much better. So that's where I would stick with most of your energy right up front. A lot of the repurposing that's done in podcasting often will take more time and doesn't get results because, when you think about it, when you repurpose shows and pop them on social media, who's seeing them? Probably people who have already heard that you have a podcast versus a lot of new, I was going to say earballs, a lot of new ears coming and listening to your show. Ellen with a super chat. Thank you, Ellen. I appreciate you so much. From Xenia and Vlada, do you have any tips for getting clients with YouTube, Instagram, or any other social media, Pat? I'm curious too. Also, thumbs up, everyone. Wow, so Ellen, on behalf of Xenia and Vlada, are coming in to ask a question. Thank you. This is really cool. Excuse me. And again, big thank you for being here, everybody. I appreciate you. Our light goal, 220 today. So let me reread this question because I think it's really important. So from Xenia and Vlada, by Ellen. Do you have any tips for getting clients with YouTube and Instagram or any other social media, Pat? Yes, I do. And I actually have firsthand experience on the client side of things doing this on Instagram. There was a fitness channel that I followed for a while who did a lot of posts sharing a lot of results that this person's students have had. And that's a great thing to do on social media. So share the results and the success stories of your students. Use your platforms, no matter what it is, whether it's social media, podcast, YouTube, whatever, to paint your student as the hero. You are the guide, they are the hero. And when you do that, you can see a version of yourself in them as a subscriber, as a follower, as a fan, right? So then you get really excited about potentially seeing similar results. And so number one, sharing success stories from your students can be really key on social media. That is by far the most underrated strategy ever. This also forces you, if you haven't done so already, to think about, well, where are the success stories in my audience? Where do they live? Let's surface them. Let's ask for them. Let's bring them to light. And if you haven't gotten success stories yet, well, that's where you need to start. Let's get success stories. So that's number one. Number two, what this person would do is say, hey, if you're interested in getting results like this or you want to work with me, send me a direct message and we'll talk from there. In the direct message, the DMs, slide into the DMs. And that's where you're going to get a lot of the possibility for you to have a one-on-one interaction. Because if you're trying to get clients, meaning you have an agency or some consulting businesses of some kind, people who hire agencies or consultancies typically want to know who they're working with and to want to build a relationship with them first. And direct messages are a great way to do this. Really easily, you can reach out to somebody by and and you as the creator, you can reach out to the individuals who, for example, comment on a particular blog or Instagram post, for example. And I have, I'll walk through the steps in just a minute on exactly what you could be doing. But those direct messages become a great personalized way to have a one-on-one interaction, which no is not 100% scalable, but should absolutely be done, especially if you're just starting out. Where it becomes scalable is you can get other human beings involved, not bots. I'm not a big fan of bots doing that work for you, although I've seen it done very well, very gracefully. But having other humans sort of to help scale you can be the answer for sure. This is why things like Intercom, which is that little chat bubble in the bottom right-hand corner that you often see on websites, work really well because it's a combination of both bots, but then also real people, and you can scale it because you can have other team members in there. So anyway, Xenia and Vlada, this is exactly what I would do. I would start with a post that shares a success story from one of my students or some really amazing tip that helped somebody in my audience and helped them get a result. The more clear, the more precise the results, the better these results are going to be. Step 2 would be to have an ask in that post. An ask where I can get people to comment or leave an emoji or, hey, have you ever felt this way before? Or, hey, have you, here's a success story of, Rob and Carrie who have a travel agency and they started a podcast and now there are results that are just unreal. How many of you would be excited about creating a podcast of your own one day? Give me a thumbs up in the comments below, right? That would be my positioning. By the way, if you're interested in creating a podcast, give me a thumbs up. That'll also help with our sort of goal count here. But anyway, and then the third step would be to then reach out to everybody who gave you a thumbs up directly through a direct message and not just send them a text message that you can copy and paste. Again, that can, there's no emotion there. There's no feeling there. There's no connection. The connection comes when you create a real life video using this amazing tool that we have called the phone with a camera in it. And you mention a person's name, you say hello, and you say, hey, I saw that you were interested in starting a podcast. What are your biggest struggles right now related to that? Why haven't you started one yet? Do you see how I didn't go, oh, by the way, I have a course? That's not how you want to start that direct interaction and that personalization. The way that you want to start that interaction is to almost sort of do a mini coaching session to offer some value up front or a quick win, which is why I love asking that question. Well, what are you struggling with right now? Or, well, what has stopped you from doing this? And when you do that, well, then people go, wow, you're already helping me. Well, where can I get more help? How can I hire you? Or do you have an online course to talk more about this? You're more likely to convert in that way. So do you all get that? Let me know in the chat below that you have seen this, or if you're watching the replay, comment below and let me know if this was really helpful for you. Awesome. Good stuff. Barry, what's up, Barry? Marty McFly. Hi, Pat. I've been working I've been working on my first launch. I'm so close, but I did a test run on my WooCommerce and it was a flop. I have tons of issues now and I'm overwhelmed. What would Pat do? So let's see what happened first. I did a test run and it flopped. Did it flop because just the technology didn't work? Number one, if things aren't working the way they should, I always reach out for help. Meaning, I go to WooCommerce and I go, hey, I tried this, it didn't work. Please help. Or hey, does anybody know how WooCommerce works? Might you be able to help me? And this is really key because there's a lot of people who have done these things before you. So number one, they likely just have gone through and have seen these problems before. Number two, they might know the answers much quicker or at least can point you in the right direction. Don't be afraid to ask for help. This is a big struggle that many entrepreneurs have, is the ability to ask for help. If you ask for help, things can happen much, much sooner. So just know that. Also, I would say that what I would do is just try to keep things simple. So this is what Tim Ferriss says. If this were easy, what would it look like? This is a great question to frame anything that you might be working on. Okay, this isn't working. This is getting overwhelming. This is getting complicated. If my entire goal here was easy, what would it actually look like? And if you're trying to launch a course, for example, well, maybe it's a beta launch where you are literally just collecting people's money via PayPal and then you're just manually enrolling them in the course because that's what you want to happen, right? Let's not let the technology get in the way. And then you can focus on and have some more time or buy some more time essentially to work on the technology and the systems and how those things work out. So I think that can be really key. So that's just where I would start. Well, why is this overwhelming? Can I get help from somebody else? And then if it were simple, maybe I can just, make things as easy as possible to start. Paximus Enterprises. Thank you, Pat. I appreciate you so much for spending time to walk me through my question and all of your questions. Again, grateful for you. Thank you. Appreciate you. We are already at the 3/4 hour mark, which is kind of unreal. This was going by really fast. Hopefully, these more in-depth answers have been really helpful. I'm taking a little bit of a different strategy today, not trying to do 3-second answers to every question, but trying to provide more value by sort of just picking at random questions that seem to stand out and then answering them in a more in-depth fashion. Hopefully, this is more helpful. Although I know that I can't get to everybody, which always drives me nuts. I like had this idea to do a 24-hour live stream the other day where I would literally just answer every single person's question, or try to do a goal of like answering 1,000 questions in one session. It would be like a world record, or I don't know, just kind of create some media around it. But then many of you were like, no, don't do that. That's bad for your health. Like, why would you do that? You need to save your voice, Pat. We need you here every day. Don't do that. So I'm listening, and I know that these 24-hour challenges can be big media draws, but also I know that they can totally ruin sort of your health. And, you know, I need to be on it. I absolutely need to be on it. I need to be on it for you. I need to be on it for my family, and I need to be on it for my team and a lot of the great work that we're doing right now. Also, I had an email sent out. So just to give you a little bit of background info on the sort of thing that gave me the most anxiety this past week was FlynnCon. So FlynnCon is a live event that I put on every single year here. Last year was the first year, which made it even more of a bummer that I had to cancel this year because I wanted it to keep going, right? And then this thing happened. I'm still dealing with the hotel who's sort of going to bill me $79,000 later, and just we don't need to talk about that side of things. What was providing me the most anxiety was just I hadn't yet reached out to the attendees, to the ticket holders, to let them know what the deal was and what the plan was. And I think that it was obvious that people knew that we were going to cancel, but just, well, what was going to happen to my ticket? Am I going to get a refund? Is there going to be a digital event and any of that sort of stuff? So if you happen to receive an email from me about FlynnCon this past week, let me know in the chat. And I'm just going to talk about how I positioned that, and just, it was a big lesson. It was something that I was avoiding. It was something that I was afraid to share. And part of it was because I was disappointed, also because I was scared about how I was going to be received. And it's just, I feel bad because although I didn't have control over the situation, obviously, I still feel bad when I say I'm going to do something and then I don't follow through. And this to me felt within that realm. So I sent an email out essentially letting people know that the event was canceled. It was the official canceling of FlynnCon. And I felt bad because the ticket holders, you know, we were going to refund all of them. But we positioned it as such. Number one, answering questions. So the most common questions around this, especially related to, is this going to be a virtual event? And no, this was not going to be a virtual event because that's not FlynnCon. FlynnCon is an in-person event. And the reason it has to be in person is because that's where the magic happens. And that's why we have 1.5 hour breaks in between sessions. That's why we create something called a Smart Bar, where the sponsors come in and they're not selling to you. They're there to provide value and support you. You can bring your laptop to the ConvertKit booth and actually have somebody there go through your account to make sure everything's hooked up correctly. Like, that's the kind of situation that happens live, and it just couldn't happen in person, which again is a bummer. And so no, it's not a virtual event, and I just kind of answered that up front. Number two, here's what we offered. We offered two options. So number one, just let people know up front, you will get a 100% discount, or excuse me, refund. We'll give you your money back, whatever it is you paid, no matter when you got in, we're going to give that back to you. That's option one. But here's option two. I want to run this event again in 2021. So you could choose to keep your ticket to reserve your seat for 2021, and I'm going to throw in a course for free. And a lot of people absolutely loved and responded to that really well. And it was sort of like an over-delivering sort of situation, right? So my thing I love to do is to both not over-promise, but I like to deliver on what it is that I say I'm going to do, but then go a little bit more and above and beyond. I like to go, I don't know, 110% or whatever, or over-deliver, as they often say. And so people really loved, the ticket holders really loved even seeing that option. And many people, some are picking the first option, right? Because money is tight right now for a lot of people. And I think a lot of them had enjoyed seeing that, well, okay, I can get this back for now. And they said, well, I'll get a ticket next time when it comes in. I don't need a course right now, which was great. But several people were really excited and stoked on the sort of value add there of let's hold your ticket, which helps with cash flow for Flynn Industries, especially if we have to end up paying the $79,000 bill. But also, it was really just kind of unexpected. And these unexpected surprises are what's really key for building a brand and for building sort of expectation of what people can come to know you for. And so we always look for opportunities to over deliver, and this was a clear one. And I think that, I'm so thankful I finally pulled the trigger on that email, which again, I was just so afraid to do. I think I saw a super chat come in. Dominique, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Hi, great vibes in Smart from Scratch community. Thanks. You're welcome. Smart from Scratch is, again, a course that you can get for free right now over here, smartpassiveincome.com/toolkit. We've given away over $1 million worth of that course already, which has just been incredible. And I'm very thankful for the community that's there who's actually using this opportunity to take action right now. Back in 2008, I got laid off and I went through 3 to 4 weeks of depression, being so sad and upset and depressed about that situation I was in, having lost my dream job essentially. But it wasn't until I finally realized, well, there are things I can control. And I started to find people who had been successful in the online business space at the time, and I followed their lead and I took action. I took bold action. I did things that I normally wouldn't have done. It's funny because a lot of people ask me, Pat, if you didn't get laid off from architecture, do you think you would still be doing what you're doing today? And I guarantee you the answer would be no. Because it was having that opportunity, having gotten laid off, that opened us up for me. And I love that people are taking action now and devoting time and investing into themselves, into their future now. I think what's going to happen, I don't know how long it's going to take. This thing is just getting extended out very long. And that's kind of the goal here, right? To flatten the curve and extend it out. But I think on the other side of this, we're going to see a booming economy. We're going to see a lot of people have their own version of my story in '08 when I got laid off and turned it into something great. I think the outcomes are going to be fantastic for those who invest their time into this. And I know a lot of people are struggling right now, and my team and I are just doing whatever we can to help out. So thank you for stepping up, and thank you for that super chat. All super chats, by the way, are getting donated to the San Diego Food Bank by the end of the month. We're going to see how many meals we can collect here in the super chats, but not necessary. You don't have to pay anything to be here. You just show up every day and that's it, and hit that like button. Again, we have a goal today of 220 likes. We're at 162. I don't think we're going to hit it today. A little bit smaller crowd today, but I think everybody's just so busy about what's going on right now. We're going to try again tomorrow. Fridays are usually sort of casual, and that's okay, but we're going to try again tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. Or you might surprise me. You might hit that 220 goal before we finish up at the top of the hour here, which means 8 minutes. And I do have to leave right away because I do have office hours for my students who get some special access to me. And we go rapid fire questions. I think we had a record. It was like 89 questions answered last week on a 2-hour call, just helping people out. And I love that. I love giving access to you in that way. So if you become a student of mine, you do get access to those office hours, which essentially is like a more formalized version of what we're doing here. And it's more rapid fire versus just we're having chats, telling stories here and stuff. Fantastic. Hey, Suzanne, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you for sending that through. That means the world. Awesome. Wow. Sunita says, hey, Pat, I have a question about what tricks do these SEO agencies apply that make them to rank their clients' sites and build so many backlinks? Yeah, I mean, this question would be answered completely differently if it was 3 years ago, right? Back when there were a lot of private link networks, there were a lot of sort of just existing websites with high authority that they had access to, that they could link to sort of gamify the system. Now, and this is a great thing, Google has sort of penalized things like that and are looking and are more sophisticated to really show the best content up top for relevant searches that people have in Google. Tricks, I mean, they're good SEO agencies aren't using quote unquote tricks. They're just using best practices. And best practices being, well, how might we be able to create content and formalize this content? Obviously with the basics involved with, H1s, H2s, H3s in your content structured the way they should be, keywords being targeted, metadata being the way it should be, optimizing for speed, optimizing for just usability, optimizing for, well, how long can we keep a person on this page and then keep them going through, optimizing for shareability. And this really all stems down to, are you creating good content that's good enough and worth linking to? And really, you don't need an SEO agency to be able to do that, obviously. They can help and help guide you. But I think the biggest thing that we need to focus on is just writing or coming up with content that is actually worth being shared. And this is the big hard struggle, right? So it's one thing to just see a topic that's popular on another website and just kind of write your own version of that. It's another thing to really go further and beyond what most people are talking about in a way where it gets out there. It becomes, something that's share worthy, newsworthy. And that's the big struggle. So also there are studies being done right now on, length of posts, and typically and more generally speaking, the longer posts that have more value in them are getting shared more and ranking higher. And I think it really depends on what keywords you're targeting as well, because I think different keywords have different opportunities too. It could be the also way that you reach out to other people and connect with them, build relationships with them in such a way that they know the kinds of things that you have to offer on your webpage, and they can share those things too. For example, a lot of people have shared my podcasting guide, and it's been viewed over 1 million times, and that's because we went all out with structuring it in a way that makes it super easy to just from a bird's eye perspective, work through the sort of process of starting a podcast, for example. And then what that does is it introduces people to that meaty piece of content in the way that I teach, and they want to go further with me and learn all the things in Power Up Podcasting. So I love what's being said here. Suzanne says, absolutely agree. Forget the tricks. Make quality content that serves people, and you will eventually get noticed. Yeah, I think Neil Patel said that, right? Like, write good things and the search engines will follow, right? Write good things and the search engines will follow. All right, this is gonna be the last question that I'm gonna take because I have to head out and go to office hours today. Again, you can come in and join me 8 a.m. tomorrow Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, and I'm just so thankful that you're here. Please put it on your calendar. Please share it with other people and hit that like button. It doesn't look like we're gonna hit our like goal today, which is totally fine. This is something that we have to earn, and I think in the weekends, we're gonna get a lot more people. We're also gonna go for a little bit longer tomorrow too, so we'll go for an hour and a half, so we'll be good. And I'm gonna do more site reviews tomorrow too, so come in, potentially get your website reviewed, learn some stuff along the way, and I'm very thankful for you for being here again. Question, are there any plans in your near future of doing a course on the best ways to interview people and how to get them on your show? This stuff is, these are things that I talk about in my course for sure, and I've talked about this here and there on the podcast, on the YouTube channel. Number one, the best way to get people on your show is through a recommendation or a relationship that you might already have, right? And then through a recommendation from a friend or somebody who might also have a relationship with them already. Number three, if they happen to be coming out with something very soon, like a book or something like a course or something, like positioning your offer to have them come on your show as a platform to share more of their thing. This is how I got access to Gary Vaynerchuk, Tim Ferriss. They were coming out with books. I reached out to them and they said yes, versus if I just reached out to them and asked out of nowhere, well, likely they would have said no. So timing it with the opportunity. You can also look in Amazon to see, well, who's coming out with a book soon? And you could potentially time your reach outs for that as well, which would be really neat. And then finally, in terms of interviewing people, I think the best strategy I have for you is just be genuinely curious. If you're genuinely curious and you have in mind the ultimate outcome that would be your ideal ultimate outcome for when you have a guest come on the show, then I think that could work out really well, because then you kind of know where you want to take people, but then you can ask the right questions, being very curious to utilize this amazing guest that you have on the show. Corey in the house with a super chat, $2 from Philly. Thank you, Corey. I appreciate you so much for that. And I appreciate all of your support today. You are amazing. Team Flynn for the win, as always. And by the way, make sure you memorize this link, patflynn.com/theincomestream. That's where you can get access to the waiting rooms. That's where you can get access to the live streams. Just if you forget where to go, that's where you can go. And you're amazing. That was weird with my voice. Why did I do that? It almost sounded like I was going to cry. Bruh. You're crazy. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Thank you to the regulars who pop in every once in a while, the regulars who pop in every single day. You know who you are. And to those who are seeing this for the first time, thank you so much. Please subscribe, hit that bell notification icon, and I promise you we're going to have even more fun times together. I'm going to be reviewing your websites tomorrow. We're going to be talking about more questions and going more in depth with a lot of this stuff. You're amazing. Team Flynn, thank you for being here. See you tomorrow. It's going to be great. patflynn.com/theincomestream. Cheers. Happy Friday. Stay safe. Wash your hands.